So poops, about a week ago, this guy got arrested for insulting Islam during a Grab ride. Apparently, it's okay if Grab drivers record their passengers. Basically, this conversation happened.
Yes, kalau kau baca Al-Quran tu semua, kalau betul-betul Al-Quran tu, kalau kau belajar, is a very dangerous book. Book of killing.
Book of killing
kerja dia asyik membunuh. Tak ada kasih sayang. Ni semua bohong aku tak percaya. Aku ngaji satu-satu.
Cakap hati-hati bang.
Okay, controversial take. And it goes on.
Saya agama Islam.
Tapi
abang cakap hati-hati bang. Cara abang cakap ni, anytime saya boleh kick abang. Saya cakap betul. Agama saya Islam.
Yalah.
Kalau abang dah keluar Islam, tak perlu nak hina agama saya. Agama saya jangan buat main.
Sorry lah Sorry minta maaf.
Nabi saya bermati-matian naik agama Islam. Jangan sesekali hina agama Islam.
Tak, saya tak.
Jangan main-main dengan agamaku.
Now, if you listen to this exchange and you look at the framing and how apparently this guy got fined 7,000 ringgit, jailed for 14 days, it might seem that this man is the bad guy. How horrible. Why would he even do something like that? He should be jailed for 500 years. Anyway, we know part of the sordid story, which is that basically this Grab driver went and betrayed the confidence of a private conversation. But the reason I'm making this video is not to throw shade on this guy, but instead to ask a couple of questions. Number one, why was this conversation even recorded? Like, are you supposed to be able to casually record people's conversations and then use them in court? Some people may debate this. Some people might say, oh, the laws have been violated, we need to preserve our jati diri. Okay, whatever. Not super interested in that. But then my next question is, why was this conversation even happening in the first place? If you think about it, yeah, this guy did wrong. He said the wrong things. But why was he even having that conversation at all? I mean, the news is like saying that apparently he was having a private conversation and then the driver interrupted. But is that really the reason? Either way, it ends on this note.
Minta maaf banyak-banyak.
Hati-hati bila kau bercakap tu.
Saya minta maaf banyak-banyak.
Kau nak mutat seorang. Kau jangan guna banyak cacat cela dalam Islam.
Yes, kalau kau baca aku.
Okay, but then why would they even be having a conversation about this in the first place? See, conversations are not one-sided. You're not gonna have a person just randomly start talking about religion out of nowhere or start talking to themselves unless they have some sort of like condition or illness or anything else. But it didn't really seem like this guy was actually lacking in sanity or anything like that. Not like this guy who definitely had some issues. And it just makes me wonder if what happened was that the driver was just trying to engage this person, asking maybe something like, what do Singaporeans believe? Korang percaya ke? Or something like that. And then the moment the rider went and gave his opinion, then he was like, gonna report you. You know, there are a lot of people like this actually who go on to certain subreddits and they insist on knowing about people's religious beliefs and they ask all of these questions, but then when they realize that people don't agree with them, don't believe in what they believe, then they start crying day in and day out, insisting that everybody live the same way as them, even though they were the ones who asked. And at the end of the day, this is one reason why I'm not interested in talking to you about your religion. I have zero interest in looking at your holy book, whatever religion it is that you are from. I do not care what you think of God, whether you don't view God as real. You do think He's real. He goes along with you every single day unless I specifically request to speak to you about that topic. Because it appears that in Malaysia, anytime people try to dakwah or have you in a conversation like that, they are actually baiting you. And if they don't like your opinion, then they can just go right ahead and complain and divulge things that were said to you in confidence. Truly amazing. See, this is one reason why I think it makes a lot of sense to request for a quiet ride so you don't end up having a conversation like that. You don't talk to someone who insists on talking to you about religion, or why, generally speaking, you just don't even talk about religion when you go out. However fascinating it seems to you, and especially in a country like Malaysia, where I don't see any benefit or anything worth learning from anybody who wants to talk about their religion and cannot help just throwing out their thoughts as if anybody in the world would be interested in their thoughts about how everybody needs to be safe. Because no, we don't. We don't care about your ego, your thoughts, your beliefs about what you believe. And for many reasons, it's probably better to just zip. It's not good to be insulting Islam, that's true. But at the end of the day, if people don't want to hear people's real thoughts at scale, then maybe just don't have that conversation in the first place. Because a lot of you are probably not gonna enjoy what you hear. Not just from people who don't believe in your religion, but even some people who do. But what do you think of this case, Whoops? I think it's kind of messed up, but yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have to say about that, and bye.